the one and only DNVR. Two goes out to Zach, Mace, RK, and the bar. Three for Mr. B in that old trophy case. Number four we're still waiting for, well, bring on the chase. Out on the field at Mile High, Broncos win is our desire. Coupled with a break, brew and a friend, bleed orange and blue to the bitter end. Come and join us, DNVR. We are DNVR.
We are DNVR, coming to you live from Studio A at the DNVR Bar, and the A stands for amazing, as an amazing weekend of college hoops. I've watched portions of every single game that has happened over the last, whatever that it would be, 4 days.
What was your favorite one?
Oh, man, it didn't have the ending I wanted, but probably the last one last night, TCU, Arizona.
That was so good.
Andre and I decided to bet on every single underdog blindly throughout the entire tournament to see if that could be a profitable venture.
Did you still bet on the 16s to beat the ones?
Yes, we did. We did. So far, it actually has been profitable, decently profitable. But it would have been a lot better if we could have got that TCU over Arizona last night.
Well, it's funny. The first game of the weekend and the last game of the weekend were probably the two most memorable ones. The Baylor-Carolina game to start, and then TCU Arizona last night. And both of them had instances in the last few minutes where you had a dribbler who was in trouble, but literally basically nudged, to put it kindly, across the timeline. And no call either time.
How about that, though? The dunk to try to end it, and he still has a ball in his hand.
God, it would have
finger
been
roll,
so
man.
juicy if Arizona had lost that way. Bummer. Anyways, great weekend of college hoops. March Madness literally never disappoints.
Yep, and it's batting again. And, hey, I went 3 for 3 over at DraftKings, so I'm feeling great.
My percentage is probably really low, considering just blind underdogs every time. But I believe the current count is we're up 7.1 units.
Very good, very good. Up 10.5, but
wow. You must have hit some money lines or parlay.
I hit one parlay and then hit one DraftKings boost.
Nice.
By the way, I continued my trend of betting against my team. And so when Brady Manick got ejected for the flagrant 2 and the Baylor was down 24, I did a couple of money line bets. If Baylor would have won, I would have won, I believe it was like $300 on a $2 bet.
Jeez, that was crazy. You should have taken the buyout. Once they came all the way back, probably could have got 100 out of it.
It wouldn't let me.
Oh, really?
At the end of regulation, I tried to do it.
Oh, yeah, you got to do it before the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, wouldn't let me. Wouldn't let me, yeah.
All right.
But you know what? I'm happy to lose money because the Tar Heels won.
There you go.
And I'll do the same thing Friday night when they play UCLA.
The emotional hedge never lets you down. Speaking of hedging, are the Broncos hedging their bets at the tackle position because they think they have something in their back pocket? This weekend, obviously, Lyle Collins goes off the board. He goes to Cincinnati. It sounds like the Broncos weren't all that interested. At least from some of the reporting that's been out there, not only from Ben Albright, who straight up said they weren't interested, but I think it was Jeremy Fowler who said like it was down to the Panthers and the Bengals. And then you've got Terron Armstead on the board. He is going down to Miami today, I think, for a visit. No news on the Broncos being involved there.
Nope.
So what's going on? I guess the question would be, should they have gone harder after Lyle Collins? Should they be on Terron Armstead? Or do they feel comfortable with something else, such as Bobby Massey?
Yes to both of those.
Okay.
I do think they feel comfortable with Bobby Massey and getting a guy in the second or third round, and that's fine. But, and a big but, You just got Russell Wilson. He is your number one asset, not just on offense, not just on your team, in the entire organization. He is the number one asset. He's the most important person in that building. So you know what you do with the most important person in that building? You give him every resource that he needs to stay healthy, to be the best he can be. And I don't care if we're talking a $10 million contract. I don't care if we're talking $15 or $20 million to go get a guy that's going to protect him. You go and do it. And Armstead is the best out there. He's probably the best free agent available this entire offseason, and he plays that position. Yes, he's a left tackle. I don't care. Put him at left tackle, move Bowles to right tackle, do everything to protect Russ.
Yeah, that's where I think the hang-up probably is George Paton specifically invested a lot in Garrett Bowles, and I just don't know if he is willing or ready to move Garrett Bowles over. Now, I'm with you.
Elway gave Bowles the contract.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It happened late in 2020.
It was his last move.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
That's different. That actually does change things. I still think probably the reason why you're not seeing the Broncos maybe be in this pursuit is we have our left tackle, and we're not going to pay Terran Armstead left tackle money to play right tackle when we don't know how he converts over there. And the same goes for Garrett Bowles, who you're paying left tackle money. Are you going to flip him to the right side? I would guess that while for us it's easy to just be like, get the five best offensive linemen that you can get out there, it's maybe a little bit harder for a team builder to say, I'm paying left tackle money to two guys and putting one at right.
I also think he's thinking we're going to find our right tackle of the future in the draft with either pick 64 or sometime in the third round. And I think what you're looking at right now when you see the Tom Compton signing last week, even the possibility of bringing Bobby Massey back in a few weeks as well, it's all sort of hedging in case the guy that you draft isn't ready to go. A la Quinn Miners, who probably wasn't ready to start week one, was ready to go at midseason when he came in. I think they're trying to kind of bridge the gap here. Yeah, another bridge tackle before they get it right for the long term.
You better hit on that.
Yeah.
And again, the reason is because you don't want to mess with Russ. That's one of the reasons why he was so frustrated with Seattle, was they never surrounded him with a quality offensive line. Now, the Broncos, I think, certainly have a better offensive line than what Seattle has given him in the past. But still, you don't want to have him come in here and he realizes, wait, you have a big hole at right tackle, and the way you filled it was by getting a third rounder in the draft who's not ready to go. Then you signed a guy after the draft in free agency. That's not really showing that commitment to me. Now, I do think that Bobby Massey is a really good one-year solution, but at some point, you've got to find that bigger solution here, and the Broncos don't have a first or second round pick next year to do that. They don't have a first round pick or even really a second round pick. Their second round pick is the last pick in the second round this year, and I believe that George Paton can find a long-term answer in the third round of the draft this year, but you're rolling the dice a little more, and this is a guy, Lyle Collins is a guy, or Armstead's a guy, where you bring those guys in, there you go. You're set. Now, you're paying a lot of money for him, but you just don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. And what actually worries me is we're talking about Bobby Massey here. If you look at the money the Broncos allocated to the right tackle position last year, between Tom Compton and Calvin Anderson, you're basically right where they were. So I'm a little bit worried about them saying, we actually don't need Bobby Massey. We're good with where we are right now. And basically letting Tom Compton and Calvin Anderson battle it out for the starting right tackle job in training camp. That makes me uncomfortable. And so, to me, I'm totally with you, Zach. Go get one of these guys. Figure it out later in terms of, if you're going to get Armstead, it's too late for Collins. If you're going to get Armstead, figure out which one of those guys works better on the right side. Look, this is the AFC West. You're going up against Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. Guess who matters more on your left tackle or right tackle? Neither. They matter the same.
Right.
You're going up against who else?
Crosby and Chandler Jones.
Crosby and Chandler Jones. You're going to need both sides. So it's no longer the way it used to be, where every team has one stud pass rusher and they're lining up over your left tackle or your right. You just need one. No, you need both. So pay them both like they're left tackles because they're equally as important. Obviously, the left side is going to be the blind side. You want to be more strong over there. But in the end, you need both.
Fellas, I'm just going to give you some numbers here. 9, 6, 6, 1, 2, 9. Those are the games missed in each season by Terron Armstead since 2016. If it was going to be anybody, it needed to be Collins.
Yeah.
Armstead at this point in his career, he's missing more games than Bobby Massey. A lot more games than Bobby Massey.
And I think really the guy was Collins, who the Broncos should have been going after because he is the younger one, 28 years old. So this is not a 1-year solution. This is, you give him a 5-year contract. Bring him in here. He's a guy that Armstead, Mace, what's he going to cost? 15, 18, $20 million potentially?
I'd say maybe at this point, maybe not that much. I mean, Collins got what? Basically, it's $22 million guaranteed.
He got DJ Jones contract.
It's a 3-year deal in terms of
it's 3 years, $30 million.
But 22 is guaranteed. It's basically 2 years, $22 million for all intents and purposes. So it's basically $11 million a year. And Armstead's probably going to be in that same range.
Oh, if he's that same range, you go after him right now. Still, because I do like the depth that the Broncos have at tackle if they need to turn to one of those guys. But my focus really was on Collins because I think Armstead's going to come in significantly more expensive than Collins. When I saw 3 years, $30 million for Collins, cheap. I thought, wow, yeah, that is cheap. And then what I boiled it down to, because Collins, on the other hand, he did miss 7 games last year. I guess he missed 5 games last year. But then the year before that, he missed 1. The year before that, 0. The year before that, 0. So he's a guy that you can count on. And then so the way I boiled it down to in my head was, Cap is fake. We know that. But let's say Cap wasn't fake and George Paton wanted to abide by the rules of the cap. Would you rather have Collins or DJ Jones? Pretty much the exact same deals. 3 years, $30 million. The only difference, $20 million guaranteed to DJ Jones, $22 million guaranteed to Collins.
I mean, there's a bigger hole where DJ Jones is. And I don't want to get caught up in the name thing.
Yeah,
but
I
just
agree.
think positional value of a tackle exceeds that of a defensive tackle.
Positional value of a tackle, and on top of that, just protecting Russell Wilson. Let's not overlook that. And also, this team is going to take a step back on defense. That's okay because they're investing more on the offensive side of the ball. So I really need to see an investment at tackle. And to be fair, last year was George Paton's first year doing the draft. But going back to Garrett Bowles, I said this last week, Broncos haven't drafted a tackle since Garrett Bowles with the number 1 overall, or with their first round pick in the 2017 draft. That is crazy. Now, I do think that George Paton will change that this year, but what if he doesn't? What if he doesn't? That's just, until I see that investment in the tackle position, I'm going to be worried.
Yeah, I think DJ Jones filled a bigger need, because if you didn't have DJ Jones, you're going to try to do a lot of nickel and dime packages, and so DJ Jones makes it possible for you to do those. If you don't have DJ Jones, you're inviting teams to just gash you with the run constantly. So
in the comments, I just want to confirm, why did Lyle Collins miss 5 games last year? Was he suspended?
I don't remember.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Is that what the comments say?
The comment says he was suspended for attempting to bribe a drug test administrator.
Yes.
Okay.
5 game suspension.
I don't care.
Oh, right.
Had to think about it. I don't care.
So he's healthy is what it shows you?
What it tells me likely is that he smokes weed. Big deal. And that he thought he was smarter than he maybe was.
All right. Yeah.
Not the worst idea I've ever heard.
That's a very honest drug tester person, because I doubt the NFL's matching what Lyle Collins was going to give him.
What do you think, 10 grand?
Yeah, probably, but I guarantee you the NFL didn't turn around and say, you know what, for being honest and not taking his 10 grand, we'll give you 10 grand.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely not. Not the best move.
No,
but
not a good look.
Not a quarterback.
Right. Yeah.
If my quarterback's doing stuff like that,
Right.
I have some questions.
Right. And you know what? He was doing that just to make sure he was out there to protect Dak Prescott. That was his mindset.
100%.
Yeah.
And
to get a paycheck.
protect his paycheck. It would have been a great trade for him if it worked.
Yeah, it certainly
Turned
would've.
out to be a really bad trade.
It did. Yeah, what, $10,000 to lose? How much did he? Probably millions.
Yeah.
And for 5 games. And so what's funny is before Collins was signed by the Bengals, I didn't think the Broncos were going to go after him that hard. And they didn't go after him that hard. And I was like, it'd be nice if they could get him. But I honestly thought he was going to be $15 million a year. A starting tackle that came on the market a couple days after free agency. I thought people were going to jump all over him. Then when I saw that $10 million come in, I was like, man, that's a bummer.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's a bargain. This is a weird year. This is a crazy offseason in the NFL. I mean, obviously, you rarely see big-name quarterbacks moving around. Big-name quarterbacks are moving around every 5 minutes.
Literally 2 minutes before the start of the show,
Yes,
we saw
Matt
one.
Ryan's a Colt. Baker Mayfield's probably somewhere by the end of the day, at least the end of the week.
Yep.
Deshaun Watson's in a new place. Russell Wilson's in a new place. This stuff never happens. And then you rarely see tackles, good offensive tackles just bouncing around in free agency. And not only are there 2 out there who are really well known and really good, but they're going late.
Right.
Like, what is happening
Yeah,
here?
it's so, and you still look at the names that are available outside of the tackle position. Yep. You still have huge names. Now, maybe we're getting caught up in names, but still on a lot of people's, top 25 boards, there's still like 8 to 10 guys out there.
Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, Bobby Wagner, Stephon Gilmore.
Yep.
Names that everyone knows.
Yep.
Honey Badger's still out there. Obviously the Broncos guys, Kareem Jackson, Bryce Callahan,
Yep.
Bobby Massey. They're all just sitting out there. It almost reminds me a little bit of like the fake hot stove of baseball, where like all of a sudden it's like free agency opens and then just nothing happens.
There are big moves at the top, and then once those big moves happen, and they're usually for guys that are kind of in a specific window of their career. Once those moves happen, it's like if you're at a later window, if you're like for the NFL, for example, if you're on your 3rd or 4th contract, you're going to find the market wanting at this point.
Yeah,
it's kind of what we're kind of seeing is a little bit of the shredding of the middle class of free agency here.
Yeah, and that's not a good thing. I want to see these players getting paid.
Like, look at these deals that some of the deals that the Broncos have had, since the flurry of signings. J.R. Reed, Singleton, Josh Johnson. These are guys.
I really like Singleton. By the way,
I've
obviously watched a lot of Eagles games. He flies.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically your insurance policy if Baron Browning doesn't prove to be right for what the Broncos are
right,
doing.
and special teams ace.
Yes,
at the very least.
J.R. Reed is a special teams guy that they brought. I mean, there's some
Great
saying,
name.
does this take him out for Kareem Jackson? It doesn't take him out for Kareem Jackson. Every snap that J.R. Reed played for the Rams was on special teams.
So if I'm one of these guys that's left over, a Tyrann Mathieu, a Kareem Jackson, a Chris Harris Jr., Bobby Wagner, I'm taking a little bit of the power back and saying I'm not signing anywhere until halfway through training camp.
You're doing what Evan Mathis did.
Right.
Waiting for the right situation with the right team.
Yeah, exactly.
It pops up, and then a team gets desperate. I mean, you got to have a lot of confidence to do that, but then you can put yourself in the best situation in terms of getting to a team that is going for it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And also just not having to go to OTAs and all that stuff, Extend your off season, hang out.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you got to stay in shape and do, you'll do your own workouts. But it's not as if Tyrann Mathieu is not getting picked up somewhere.
Right. No, he will sign somewhere. Absolutely. And guys, crazy enough, 2 weeks from today, the Broncos offseason workout program can begin.
Man, it moves quick, man.
Broncos are back almost.
Almost. And what's even crazier is, we're a month away from the draft.
Yeah.
It just like, I've told people this privately, I'll say it here. When the Broncos got Russell Wilson, I was like, oh shit, what are we going to talk about after the Russell Wilson wave ends? And then I just remembered, like, Oh, right. The NFL wave never ends.
No, it doesn't.
There's just another thing that
Yep.
comes
Yep.
every single time.
Yep, especially this offseason with the Denver Broncos. They've got 2 of the 3 big things figured out. They have their coach figured out, they have their quarterback figured out, and maybe right when that dead window hits, the only dead window in the NFL, it's 4 to 6 weeks in the summer. Maybe that's when the Broncos get a new owner and they keep us busy once again.
Of course they would. But we'll always keep you busy down here at the DNVR Bar. You can come down, hang out, watch games. I was sitting at that booth right in my little corner seat there.
You had a pillow too, right?
I didn't. I should have. I calculated I was in this bar for 28 of 36 hours when March Madness started.
And was that Thursday and Friday? No.
Thursday, Friday.
Thursday, Friday.
Thursday,
As
Friday.
it should be.
And then I totally burnt out and spent the entire rest of the weekend on the couch, which just as good. Almost. I didn't have someone to like bring me drinks or food like you do here at the DNVR Bar.
That's very true.
So come down here, hang out. We also have the Nuggets party bus coming up. I think it might actually be sold out, but we also have an Avs one coming out after that. And mostly I just want to make sure you guys keep an eye out for this stuff because it's awesome. What happens is it's sort of like our tailgates, but take it up a notch because you come down to the bar, you meet up with everyone, you have some drinks, you hang out, then you get on the bus, you go to the game, and then you have your ticket too with all of the DNVR fam who's out there, which is a really cool way to spend a game. Everyone's out there doing chants and stuff like that. So check it out. It's all on dnvrlocker.com. You can see what events we have coming up on there from a party bus perspective. But either way, come down, hang out at the bar.
And go check out our friends over at Lightshade Dispensary, where right now they've got Escape Artist, which is the highest awarded topical brand in Colorado that prioritizes quality and consistency. They have ratios available in 1-to-1 and high ratio CBD 20-to-1. They're always using the best materials and ingredients to deliver that premium experience. And if you use the code DNVR over at Lightshade, whether you're in person or online, you will get 25% off all non-sale items. So check them out. Use that code DNVR. And whether you are a casual consumer or a connoisseur, they've got everything you need over at Lightshade. So check them out. Use that code DNVR.
Also, check out Breckenridge Brewery. Wherever you are around the country, you can find out where to get some of those delicious Breckenridge brews like we get here over at the DNVR Bar by going to the Breck Beer Locator on their website. And you're going to find probably a liquor store, package store, maybe even a drugstore, because there are some states where you can get plenty of beer in places like Walgreens and CVS. You're probably not too far from being able to get up to a place that has some of those delicious Breckenridge brews that we enjoy here at DNVR and we enjoy here throughout Colorado. So if you're watching outside of Colorado, you want to have a little bit of a taste of the Rocky Mountain State, check out the Breck Beer Locator at their website and find out where to get some of those delicious Breckenridge brews. They've got something for every beer palate. If you like fruit beer like me, you can get the Strawberry Sky. I'm not really an IPA but they've got you covered on IPAs. Pretty much Breckenridge Brew has an array of beers to satisfy any taste. So check that out at Breckenridge Brewery.
All right, let's move along here. Mace, I think are we going to let you go to do a press conference?
Well, I'm waiting for the Zoom link to come in.
All right.
It hasn't come in yet. So
all right, we're going to lose Mace here in a second because who's first? Do you know?
I don't know.
Because Josh Johnson.
Yes.
Gosh, my brain always wants to say Josh Jones. Josh Johnson and who else is meeting today?
Alex Singleton,
my guy. Are going to meet with the media, so Mace will go jump over there, and of course you can check out thednvr.com later to hear what they had to say, what was the most interesting angle that comes out of there. But yeah, the Broncos are kind of they made their couple big moves.
Yep.
Now they're just filling in little gaps.
Yep, and that's what's expected moving forward from now. Of course, over the weekend, the Broncos did make 2 moves internally to open up some more money, but then quickly realizing that that's kind of money they needed in order to make these smaller moves. Now, if, let's say, I don't know, they wanted to spend $10 million on Bobby Wagner, they could go restructure and do what they did with Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton. They could do that with Garrett Bowles. They could do that with Justin Simmons. They could find money, but it really feels like, okay, now we're just filling in the roster, and this is George Paton season, right? I'm sure George loved making the trade for Russ, but this is where he thrives, is by finding the special team linebackers for $1 million who, oh, by the way, led the Eagles in tackles the past 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, speaking of like the trade for Russ, and there's been a few stories that have come out about it now. I actually just realized that I got distracted in the middle of the Sam Farmer one and never finished it. But there's a couple stories that have come out about kind of how this went down. How crazy is it that like we were adjacent to the entire process but didn't know about it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It started in Mobile. We were there.
Yeah.
We were just at the wrong restaurant, I guess.
Yeah.
Then it moved on to Indianapolis, where we were at all the happening spots, rubbing shoulders with the people that we wanted to be.
But it was going down at the non-happening spots.
Exactly, off the beaten path. There's, John Schneider and George Paton making the deal that would, change everything for both franchises. It's just kind of funny thinking about it, like, oh, we were within a mile probably of everything that was going on.
Yep, and it's crazy. And George Paton really made an emphasis of this multiple times last week of just thanking everyone involved for not letting it get out. The fact that a blockbuster trade didn't leak that had been talked for a month is wild.
It didn't even leak in like rumor form.
Nope, not at all. Like you saw this morning before the trade went down with the Colts, everyone was saying I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts get get Matt Ryan, and then of course that did happen.
There's an old line: real G's move in silence like lasagna.
And George is a real G.
He's a
literally.
real G. I got to give it to him. I mean, it's not like we're like big insider scoop guys over here, so I don't really care. It wasn't scooped or leaked or anything like that. I got respect for it.
Yeah.
It's clearly the way George Paton likes to do business. I kind of understand it. He even alluded to it. He's like, you never know if like the leak is going to mess it up. It's a little bit of paranoia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And I respect that about him. The way it went in the first story I read, which I'm blanking, I think it was Peter King. Basically, not even anyone else knew about it until the combine. When they started kind of letting a few people in that needed to be in to get the deal done.
But even then, it was such a small circle of people who knew that when the news broke, you had people in the Broncos building that were shouting and hooting and hollering because very few people knew what was about to go down.
One of those people who was shouting and hooting and hollering, sadly, was Shelby Harris.
Yep. That was sad.
Well, we joked about that with Aaron Rodgers, like that if they made the trade for him, like, hey, we trade for Aaron Rodgers, great. What'd we give up?
You. I mean, that's essentially what happened. And I saw some people saying like I can't believe that they didn't tell them first. Who knows how this stuff happens, Agents are usually the ones who are leaking this stuff to the insiders, so it's possible that George Paton didn't know it was coming out when it came out.
He did know, but he knew it was coming out when it came out. I know that for sure. And I also know that George picked up the phone right away to call those guys, to call the people that had been traded. So they did call him right after the trade, but also in those initial reports of the trade happening,
it hadn't leaked.
there weren't names of who it was. So George did try to contact the players before they heard other.
By the way, Jameis Winston gets re-signed with the Saints.
All right. Jameis to the Saints.
$21 million guaranteed, 22 years, $28 million is the contract.
$14 million for a guy that played 5 games last year?
Yeah, played very well. They weren't going to do better.
Yeah, you know who also played well when they played last year?
Who?
Josh Johnson. He actually did. He looked decent when he played last year. How many NFL teams is this for him now?
Denver's 14.
That is absurd.
Yeah.
And if we count other leagues, because he played in the UFL, the AAF, and the XFL, he is on. So he's never gone to the CFL. Surprisingly, he's on his 17th team in his 4th league.
It's incredible, and this guy's just racking them up. $1 million at a time.
That's unbelievable. How old is he?
He came into the league in 2009. I think
08, actually.
Or 08 or 09. So he's like 36 by now.
Yeah.
What, man?
What I want to ask him on the conference call whenever that happens is, do you have your jerseys framed?
Right. I want to know which is his favorite place he's played so far.
Yeah.
Congrats to him. This is not easy to hang around this long, bounce around, go to different leagues, come back. That's it's really impressive.
So let me read you all the teams he's played for, and you tell me what you think his favorite one was. He came in with the Bucks, then 49ers, then the Sacramento Mountain Lions, the Cleveland Browns, the Cincinnati Bengals, the 49ers again, the Bengals, the Jets, the Colts, the Bills, the Ravens, the Giants, the Texans, the Raiders, the Redskins, the San Diego Fleet, the Lions, the Los Angeles Wildcats, the 49ers, the New York Jets, the Baltimore Ravens, and now the Denver Broncos.
That's so absurd. I'm going to guess that his favorite is Cleveland.
Wow.
Yep.
Why? Because he got to be on his own carousel there?
I just think that their fan base is so rabid that he'll say that like it was impressive just how much the fans cared even when the team was
he
bad.
was a Buccaneer though for the first 4 seasons of his career.
That's true.
So, and he got his first start with Tampa Bay. Actually, in 2009, I was actually at his first start because it was against Carolina. I think it was like 28-21. The Bucs lost. I'd have to say probably Tampa Bay.
All right, well, you're gonna have to make sure we get this bet settled.
Yeah, and I'll go on a limb and say the 49ers because he was with them 3 different times.
He was, yes. He got. He should just have a place.
Wanted.
He'll probably end up back there anyway.
Yes, I'm not sure he makes enough money to afford a place.
Yeah, but he never was on the 49ers in the regular season though.
Still, he was there.
That's
4
why
different seasons.
I gotta go with the place where he spent most of his regular season time. if I'm guessing anything, although it's funny, like he's come back around and signed with like the 49ers multiple times in the offseason. He's been with the Jets multiple times. So like if we're talking about jersey collections, he could have 2 different Jets jerseys because they changed.
That's true.
Between his stints. I mean, this is just. This is the ultimate journeyman quarterback.
So are we done with Brett Rippon? Is he done here? You're bringing in a 35-year-old guy that's played with 14 different teams. He's clearly the backup, right?
Yeah, but I mean, does Brett still have a practice squad eligibility?
Believe so.
Yes.
Well, then he'll stick around.
Okay, so a practice squad guy. But if you lose him, it's fine. Because last year the Broncos were not fine with losing Brett Rippon. Remember, they brought him up and then kept him on the active roster for like over half the year last year when a team was going to poach him.
I don't know that the new staff has the same value of Brett Rippon as the old staff did. The other thing is, if they draft a quarterback on day 3, if they take, for example, Caleb Ellaby out of Western Michigan, who, of course, his offensive coordinator most of his time there is now coaching tight ends for the Broncos. If they do that, there's no room for Brett Rippon at the end.
Definitely not. One thing I keep having to remind myself is we're going backwards one staff in terms of the scheme. So guys like Brett Rippon, who were brought in by the Scangarello regime,
right,
are back kind of in the fit. They fit once again in terms of what they were at least brought here to do. Like a guy like Dalton Reisner, I think, is one who we can reset our expectations for. I think over the last 2 years, we've kind of gone backwards on Dalton. And unfortunately, it's not guaranteed that he's going to go back to the rise that he was originally on in that offense. But remember, he was brought here to play that offense. And there's other guys like that. Rippon, I think he was just brought in for the most part because Scangarello really liked him. We even saw them, bumping shoulders in 2 different places. So we knew there was a affinity there.
Yep.
But it is something to keep in mind. The guys that were brought in by that staff are once again, quote unquote, scheme fits.
And you said it. I think Dalton Reisner is the guy who is going to get the biggest boost from that, and it's a much needed boost because this, with where the team is right now, I don't think he's guaranteed a starting job. And I don't think Lloyd Cushenberry is guaranteed a starting job. The only guy on the inside of the Broncos offensive line that I think is guaranteed a starting job, and I don't think they're even going to say it's guaranteed, but it's guaranteed, is Quinn Meinerz. Netani Muti's got to fight for a job, but you know what? Netani Muti can do that at left guard. He can try to take over Dalton Reisner. Graham Glasgow, I think he's going to be the center for the Broncos, but him and Lloyd are going to battle it out there. So you're going to have a battle at center, you're going to have a battle at left guard, and the only one that's stable is Quinn Meinerz.
Why do you say Quinn?
They love him. And the new staff loves him too.
Yeah, he seems like he would fit with the new staff.
Yes, he does.
I mean, the question is, what do you want to do with Graham Glasgow? I mean, you could argue his best career season was at center in Detroit. Are you having him push Cushenberry, or are you having him push Reisner? You've got Netani Muti in there as well. I mean, does he push Reisner and then Glasgow pushes Cushenberry and then Quinn Miners is set at the other guard spot? I mean, they've got a few possibilities that they can go with here.
If Quinn Miners, I've told this story once before on this pod at least, but I'll say it again for any of our new listeners. If Quinn pans out, it is the ultimate flex for George Paton, because I heard from multiple places that when the Broncos selected Quinn Miners, multiple front offices were audibly laughing at them because they thought, oh, they fell for the trap. Yeah. They took the bait. Yeah. They're the idiots who fell for the Quinn Miners thing. And I know that George Paton has heard this. So if that works out, that's going to be a fun one for him. And if I were him, I don't know if he's this petty, but I would be sending some texts.
At what point in his career do you feel comfortable sending texts?
Like
Pro Bowl? Just a 16-game starter this year?
I guess it would depend. I mean, probably Pro Bowl is like the undeniable. You get to dunk on them.
Yep. And you send it right after those votes come out.
Yeah, 100%.
That would be fantastic.
It would. All right, just to tie a bow on this, is there any chance in your mind that one of these names, like a Bobby Wagner, Tyrann Mathieu, I'm naming guys who aren't current or weren't Broncos last year. Any of these outside guys end up Broncos?
No, I don't think so. I think the big moves are done, and it is about looking at internal guys, the Bryce Callahans, the Kareem Jacksons of the world.
Mace?
I agree. I mean, I think maybe the one the one that I could see is they could bring in a slot cornerback if they decide Bryce Callahan isn't healthy. They could go outside, but in general, I think we're just going to see some re-signings and then fringe and special teams types of pickups.
Bless you.
Gosh,
bless
you. Bad timing. Get the camera off me.
All right. Lost my train of thought there. I wrote this in our roundtable on the DNVR.com the other day, and this is my big question as it relates to this. You need a slot corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could use a strong safety, right?
Mm-hmm.
You always could love some in-the-box linebacker help, right?
Yep.
Tyrann Mathieu checks off all three.
He does.
He can be... Obviously, he can play the traditional safety role alongside Justin Simmons, which is scary. He's played a good chunk of snaps in the slot, just straight up playing slot corner over the last couple of years. And we know that if you want to go single high, he can creep down into the box and help you in the run game. Killing three birds with one stone here.
How much are you paying him?
I don't know. I mean, it can't be that much this late, right?
Let's say it's $10 million. I have no idea what it's going to be.
I think anyone that's getting signed now, aside from maybe Armstead, is getting less than that.
I agree with you outside of this year, just with the fact of how many big-time players are still on the market. That's just what makes me disagree with that a little bit. But when you say that, the only reason I try to put a price on it is, could you get Kareem Jackson, Bryce Callahan, and Chris Harris Jr. for the same amount of money that the Honey Badger would be? And who would you want?
I think it's like $5 million for Honey Badger.
Yeah, then I do it. I certainly do it.
Incentive laden. Maybe it's 5 is the base, and there are certain escalators that you build in there.
Yeah, I mean,
like there's a Pro Bowl escalator in there, for example.
You want him to hit those escalators, so it's a win-win for everyone. I just think three birds with one stone. He's also a dog, and that's what I wrote is, as Aqib Talib would say, you need dogs, and especially on the defensive side of the ball. And as I look around that defense, who is that person? Especially without Kareem Jackson, because I think he is one.
A dog on defense. You hope it's DJ Jones now.
Yeah, I don't know enough about like his personality to know if he's like that on the field. But as you look around, you have really good players. You have Justin Simmons. You have Pat Surtain. You have DJ Jones. You have Bradley Chubb. Randy Gregory maybe has that in him. But you need more. You always need more.
Yep. I'm down for that signing.
Yeah.
I'm certainly down for that signing.
Yep. So that'll be interesting to follow. I think you guys are probably right. I'm just gonna sit here holding out hope that the price comes down based on the longevity that these guys are available. and the Broncos are able to jump and make a move for one of these,
Well, I think
second wave guys.
I'm trying to put myself in George Paton's perspective here. And part of it is, everyone's like, go for it, go for it, go for it. Well, you don't have a rookie contract on the quarterback, and the quarterback contract is going to be bigger in 2024 and beyond. And you're thinking, you might literally be signing Russell Wilson in 2 years to a 6-year, $330 million contract, $55 million a year, with $275 million guaranteed. If we saw what Deshaun Watson just signed for, Russell Wilson's going to get more than that in all likelihood. So I don't think the Broncos are yet in the space where they're going to completely blow up their plans to go for it, knowing what Russ's contract is going to be like in 2024 and beyond. I don't think we're at that kind of desperate moment just yet.
I know the answer to this, but I want to pose the question just because. Any chance that Russ learned from his experience in Seattle and is willing to take less to win?
No, but also I would like to. I think this is a great, deeper conversation to have of what that price is going to be and if he would take less.
Here's what I'll say for all quarterbacks. You don't accept a penny less than what Deshaun Watson got, and you don't accept a penny less than everything guaranteed. What are they going to do? Let you walk?
Right.
No, they aren't. You hold all the power.
No. We'll talk about tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. Before we move on to the comments and questions, a shout out to DraftKings Sportsbook, where you can still bet $5 on any NCAA tournament team and win $200 in free bets if you get it right. You could have done any 1 versus 16 this last weekend, and you would have gotten all of those right. You couldn't have done all the 2 versus 15s, and it's going to get a little bit tighter here. I would probably still put it on Gonzaga. They're the most advanced team. They have the easiest scoring with Holmgren and Timmy. I think it's going to be really tough to beat them unless they beat themselves, which they've had some moments. But when push comes to shove, they just give it to Timmy, and he doesn't miss from inside 5 feet. So that's who I would put it on. But anyways, go over there. You can also get a sign-up bonus up to $1,000 when you use the code DNVR at sign-up. Of course, you must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus and a first bet match. Each up to $500. The deposit bonus requires a 25x playthrough and restrictions to apply. See DraftKings.com/sports for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
DraftKings actually says that's not the safest bet this weekend. And I want to dive into our DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week. I'm not going to go with this one because you just wouldn't be winning any money. So they have Gonzaga at -425 to win. They've got Purdue over St. Peter's, a 3 over 15 at -1,000. So according to DraftKings, that's the way to go. Ryan, I like yours, though. St. Peter's may just have something in the water that scares me a little bit. And going up against Purdue, even though I did put some money on them yesterday, I'm just wary of St. Peter's right now. So I like Gonzaga. But I like another game where I'm going with my DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week. Duke. They're my pick to win it all.
Wow.
I believe in the Krzyzewski story, the miracle he's going to go out on top. They're playing Texas Tech, who's a very good team. And Duke is underdogs. They're the 2 going up against the 3. They're underdogs. Now they're becoming slightly closer to not being the underdogs. They're +1 right now, but give me Duke at -105.
Wait a second. Did you just describe a 5-time national championship program, a number 2 seed winning it all as a miracle?
No. I don't think I said miracle.
I think you just used the word miracle in there.
I think he was pointing to the
feel-good story.
The destiny.
Yes. Okay. That's fair. It's not a miracle if Duke wins.
No, I think it's a feel. I think it's Krzyzewski going out on top. That's the story.
Yeah, it feels good to. Yeah. If you're a Duke fan, it feels great. If you hate Duke, it's miserable.
I'm very new. Well, yeah, you hate Duke, of course, that makes sense. But I'm very neutral on Duke. I'd like to cheer for him, like to not cheer for him. I don't care. I think it'd be cool to see Krzyzewski win on top. I mean, how long has he been coaching? 40 years?
Yeah, I'm not really into it either way. I actually liked Duke more when they had more hated players. No one knows who do you hate on Duke? No one.
No.
You hated Christian Laettner. You hated J.J. Redick.
Right.
Even John Shire, who was.
You haven't even named the most hateable one of all.
More than Christian Laettner, huh?
Grayson Allen.
Oh yeah, you hated Grayson Allen. That makes me like them.
Right.
Because
you actually like Duke because of a Grayson Allen.
Grayson Allen's probably the toughest one there. Yeah. But
that guy's psychotic.
I like rooting for the guys who everyone hates just because I think that society needs heels. And so like
You need Tar Heels.
Yeah. I like when
Oh, you don't have the Tar Heel hat on. I thought you'd have it on today.
No.
got the colors.
Yep, he does.
Yeah.
I don't know. That stuff is just I get a kick out of it. Like everyone dislikes this guy and then he wins and everyone hates it. It's great.
Well, the problem with Grayson Allen is he intentionally trip people.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was kind of a dirty player. Not even kind of. He's a
and
dirty player.
Leitner stomped on a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Timberlake.
Heel. Everyone needs a heel. Sometimes the heel hits you in the face.
Wow.
Oh, anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Coach K doesn't do anything for me, to be honest.
You want to pick Texas Tech?
No, although I think they are going to win. I also think Houston's going to beat Arizona. But my pick of the week is going to be my riskiest pick of the week ever.
Whew.
I'm sticking with Cinderella, baby. St. Peter's money line.
Oh, wow.
I love their coach. He's going to be coaching at a big program very soon.
Yep.
And I don't know. I just think they're dope. So
Plus
I'm gonna,
650.
I'm going to keep riding with St. Peter's.
I love it. A 15. That would be incredible.
They're the reason why the all underdogs bet has been profitable so far. In fact, if you just bet on them, then you'd be rich.
You'd be very rich, yes.
But the strategy, if it wasn't for the strategy, I never would have picked St. Peter's to beat Kentucky.
No way.
So shout out to the Peacocks.
Yes, shout out to the Peacocks. Mace, who you taking?
My usual thing, the emotional hedge. UCLA 2-point favorite over North Carolina. Take UCLA.
Yeah.
That's probably about as good matchup as we've got here in this week.
What did you think of the ejection of Manick?
Should have been a flagrant one, not a flagrant two.
I'm with you. I thought it was garbage.
Yeah, I agree.
And then at one point, I think, starting with that, there were 14 fouls called, and I believe 13 were on Baylor, or on Carolina, I should say. Which, if you watch Baylor and Carolina play, there's no way that, unless you are just blind, there's no way you could watch those two teams play and say that over a 14 whistle stretch, 13 of them were on Carolina.
No, definitely not.
It was a joke.
Mace, I'm taking North Carolina.
Oh, good.
They're gonna win.
All right, I hope you're right.
They're good. My last thing on this. I don't think a player should be ejected from an NCAA tournament game unless it's like so like 100%. No way it could have been anything else. Like they threw a punch. You know what I mean?
Intent, I think, is
well, and everyone's saying,
"Oh,
it's clear." No one boxes out with their arm that high. Right. You just can't tell me 100%. And I just don't think you should get ejected from the NCAA tournament unless it's very, very obvious what you did was an ejectable offense.
How about that bloody nose at the end of the Arizona game last night? That was, I mean, they took the gauze out and it was just a river of blood.
I can't believe they kept showing that.
I know, and then they showed it in slow-mo.
They zoomed in on the blood on the floor. I was like, there's just no love for the people who get queasy over this stuff.
I mean, the thing, like earlier in that game, Suhan for Baylor, he basically takes his legs and kind of squeezes them around Armando Bacot's leg and kind of twists a little bit.
Yeah.
And they call that technical foul, but he stayed in the game. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a fair type of punishment for some, and that was after the whistle, which is why it was a tech instead of a flagrant one. But hitting a flagrant two, to me, it's got to be something where it's like clear, and it should be. I know the rule says intent doesn't matter, but it's something that I think the NCAA should probably revisit in the offseason.
Also, I think we talk about, was it intentional? What we don't talk about enough is, did he deserve it? And he did. So, we should consider that in these rulings.
That would be great.
So we're going to hear from Alex Singleton and Josh Johnson at 1 o'clock.
All right, so you've got a few minutes here. We've got a few minutes for your comments that we can jump into right now. Do we have any super chats we need to hit? Nope. No super chats we need to hit, so straight to the website. Zach, you want to lead us off?
First one coming in from Jazzy Broncos says, great show. Love talking about how the Broncos fit among the best of the best. So thankful for this roster that George is building. Think about the things we could be talking about. Thankful that we have a great face for our organization, and we are not scrambling and hoping for a quarterback that does not have the best image and may be suspended for a good chunk of the year. Thankful we are not talking about the best option between Baker, Matty Ice, or Winston. Thankful we are not talking about how far we lag behind the rest of our division. Thankful we are not talking about how Shermer will adjust his scheme or Vic will fix his time management. Nothing but good vibes in Broncos country.
Talking a lot about Vic this weekend, though. At least Sua Cravens was.
Yes, Sua had a lot to say. He sure did.
More to come on that.
Yes, potentially more to come on that. Next one's from Melbourne Bronco. My boys, I'm curious about betting agencies advertising over there. Currently here down under, we are absolutely saturated with gambling ads and celebrities starring in them. Shaq, Paige Spirnak, Mark Wahlberg, even Gene Simmons. It's nonstop. Cheers. If you're asking if we have the same thing here, then yes.
Have you heard of DraftKings Sportsbook?
Yeah.
I mean, there's one that has the entire Manning family in it.
Yep.
Sure does.
Yeah.
No one's turning down the betting money.
No, absolutely not, and that's where money is. So yes, it is going crazy here, Melbourne Bronco.
I actually thought it would be worse during March Madness, but I also have an incredible ability to tune out ads. Shout out to like Twitter and just smartphones for giving you something else to do when commercials come on.
I don't mind ads, so it doesn't bother me.
Maybe I haven't
Loves
noticed.
airports and ads. What a guy.
Are they advertising during the games? Any of the sports books?
I don't notice this.
See, that may be that the NCAA says no sports book ads.
You know
Well,
what?
You think that hurt the profit?
At least on the national feed. Maybe like when the local CBS station has its local break, you can probably see.
I have no idea the psychology on this. The ads that work on me, maybe the only ads that work on me, are ones that come up in my Instagram feed. I don't know why. They get me.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a t-shirt or like something.
Or like
I'm
a
like
TikTok or something.
just Instagram.
Just Instagram.
Yep, it pops up. I'm like, I think I need that.
You're gonna be targeted. There's gonna be ads
That's
now
fine.
for vintage shirts on Instagram.
There are, and I buy them. Speaking of your love of airports, I've been meaning to ask you this.
Yes.
Have you been to the Palm Springs airport?
No, is it a must go?
You gotta go.
You know, I've been down to I've been open to the idea of just flying to fly and like not even leave the airport.
Dude, best vibes of any airport I've ever been at.
Really?
It's
Palm trees in
mostly
it, or-
outside.
Oh, that'll do it.
So there's like, you come off the plane, and I had no idea what to expect. I walk off the plane, come out, there's like a little indoor part, and it's just like a wide open courtyard with like restaurants.
In the
and-
security area?
No, like as you're leaving the plane. So when I landed
So like
there.
yeah, but you're inside the secure area.
So there's like a huge courtyard in between security and the terminal.
Yeah.
So you just like walk outside. People are like laying on a lawn, just
That is
chilling.
incredible.
I was like, this is amazing.
Wow, what a way to kick off a weekend.
Exactly.
It's kind of like Hawaiian airports. Like you go to they're mostly open air. And actually, I flew into Long Beach a few weeks ago, and it's kind of the same vibe. Like, although it's under massive renovation, it's very open air.
I couldn't believe it. It was
Awesome.
like it was good enough. I would just be like, you could just come here just to hang out.
Just to hang, oh,
I imagine-
man, you
I
could
ima-
catch me doing that.
I do imagine it gets a little stifling in the summer, though.
I would imagine so too.
Yeah, that's the
Palm
one
Springs.
concern.
Get away
I
with
have.
it in like San Diego, but Palm Springs,
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
out there.
Okay.
Next one is from CDuts1285. My boys, this question may be answered in the next few days before you guys read this, but the restructure of Tim and Cortland freeing up over $12 million in fake cap space. What's the move? The hype around Collins has been high the last few days. I'd personally love that move to protect Russ. Who's next on the list? Are they freeing up money for someone like Bobby Wagner, or does this amount make more sense for signing Kareem and Callahan? Still can't get over Russell effing Wilson, baby. Go Broncos and go DNVR. Thanks, boys. Well,
Yeah, I can't get over it either. And like Ryan was just going to say, we answer that, and it's just kind of bringing back their own guys.
Yep. From Schweed, hey, Kings, just curious if you saw the Twitter thread of Sua Cravens and his rant on Vic Fangio. Do y'all have any thoughts? He also mentioned he wants to do a podcast episode about the stories he's got and his struggle with Vic, so maybe with a potential 3-ring circus with an emphasis on circus.
And then H-Town Bronco kind of chimes in on that and says, wow, a lot of Broncos drama on Twitter yesterday. Randy Gregory and Sua Cravens had no mercy, LOL. Randy Gregory definitely burned his bridge on the way out. Please have Cravens on the podcast. He said he wants to be on a Broncos podcast. That would be legendary. Personally, I believe him. The fact that tweets were liked by Broncos players and Chris Harris responded on his own accord are telling. Poor Drew Lock. This explains a lot the past few years.
Yeah, one thing I think that I believe it too. A lot of that stuff. It's not the only person I've heard it from. If it was, maybe there's more questions. But behind closed doors, there was a lot of questionable stories about Vic Fangio and just his people skills.
I was going to say his management
Yep.
and his head coach ability. I don't think anyone questions his defensive scheme and defensive knowledge, but it's the other things that come with being a head coach.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone's met that person who's just like super out of touch, doesn't know when to say some things, makes jokes at the wrong time.
Right.
Just like that I feel like that's the situation here. He just really lacks social skills and people skills.
Yep, especially when he's 60 and trying to relate to people that are 22.
And it's not like it was some secret that he was kind of an asshole.
Yeah, no. No.
like that was part of his brand.
Yep, exactly.
Next one from Dan Burke. Hey guys, so Calais Campbell's name doesn't really come up much, but how would y'all feel if the Broncos signed him? I feel like the Broncos need a strong veteran presence on the defensive line, and he's obviously a local guy who wanted to play for his hometown back in 2017, so it would be cool if he could play for the Broncos as his career is starting to wind down. What do you think his contract would look like?
I would absolutely love it, and this is actually a guy whose name we've talked about on here. He's one of my top guys going in free agency. Now the need, because you got DJ Jones, really isn't there, but you would still bring him in if you could get him on a very reasonable deal. I just think he's a guy that's probably still going to get, $7-8 million a year, and I don't think the Broncos will go for that, since he would be kind of a backup.
I'm just starting to wonder if all these prices are too high because of how late we are. And if you're going to start seeing guys like Tyrann Mathieu signs a 1-year, $3.5 million deal, and we're going to be like, wait, why didn't the Broncos do that?
Right.
Calais Campbell does the same thing. So if it's up near $10 million, the Broncos probably can't, or I'm not going to say can't anymore, probably won't do it. But if these deals start to go down, especially because it's not just like a time thing, it's a money thing. The longer guys are in free agency, the less money teams have to spend. Wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing these big names sign 1-year deals for very cheap.
Sure, and I'm absolutely for it.
By the way, I forgot something on Drew Lock from the last commenter, and as it relates to Sua's comments about how Vic didn't like his personality. All of that may be true, but whether you trust Vic or not, if you trust us, we scored every single day of practice and the preseason games and everything, and we had Teddy winning the competition. So,
and also on top of that, the year before, he did lead the league in interceptions.
Also, I haven't decided when it is, but I'm going to create an official... We're dropping this
Drew
day.
cutoff?
Yes, no. We're going to announce a day. Starting that day, no more Drew and Teddy talk.
I'm so down for that. And speaking of Drew and Teddy, kind of both trending in different directions today in their new towns. Teddy was asked today, he met with the media and Drew did. Teddy was asked if he has been told he is the backup. And he said, I don't want to talk about that. I have a very special opportunity here. So I think
Where is he?
He's in Miami with Tua. So he's trending up, potentially being in a quarterback competition with Tua, not just a backup.
Okay.
Drew, on the other hand, was asked if he's been given any promises that he's going to be a starter, and he said there's no promises, and that's the way I want it. I want to earn it. So he's kind of trending down in Seattle's.
I don't see the trending down. I think they're both in the same spot.
No, not compared to each other, but compared to like what they're in. Drew has no one else that he's competing with. Yet he's not the starter. Teddy, Tua's a starter, but viewed by many as a starter, and he's kind of trending up because now he may actually be in a competition.
So it's like there's like one person running for city council, and they're like, "Are you the city councilman?"
Right.
And they're like, "I haven't been told anything yet."
Exactly.
There's still the write-in ballots.
Yep.
Next one's from Snowgoose77. What's up, fellas? Just had to say how pumped I am for Broncos football again for the first time in years. George Paton is knocking it out of the park. We got the head coach we wanted, the QB I wanted, and the edge rusher I wanted. We lost out on Lyle Collins, though, but I'll trust George on that one. Named one player in the draft and one player in the free agency that you think would help the Broncos the most. See you in September. Free agency, I stated my claim for Tyrann Mathieu. That's who I would go get if I were the Broncos. Obviously, Armstead would be great, too. I just find that less likely. Mm-hmm. As for the draft...
When you're thinking about that, my free agency, Dwayne Brown. That is Russell Wilson's dude. He spent a minute talking about him in his opening press conference with the Broncos yesterday. He's old, so this is a short-term fix, but go get him his guy. Put him at right tackle, put him at left tackle, move Bowles to right. Get Russ his guy to protect him.
Whatever he needs, give it to him. As for the draft... It's so hard at 64 when we've been focusing on, the top of the draft top 10 pick for this whole time to then all of a sudden shift who's going to be there at 64. So as we get closer, we'll have a better list of names for you.
Absolutely. It's going to be much different draft prep this year, but it doesn't matter because Broncos got a quarterback.
And our draft show is going to be different, but I think it'll be more fun with no stress of like, oh God, we have to make sure we plan out all this time for when the Broncos pick.
And are they going to get a quarterback, or is it going to be another competition this year?
Right. Yeah, I mean, last year's draft show is like incredibly stressful because we're live on air just minutes after the Aaron Rodgers stuff comes out. So we're like trying to follow the Aaron Rodgers rumors. Meanwhile, it's inching closer and closer and closer to the Broncos draft pick. And we're like, is this move going to happen before the pick? Then obviously they don't even draft quarterback. So that's like leaving even more. I remember us talking about like maybe the Packers asked for them to draft Surtain, like all of that stuff. This year's going to be the opposite. We're going to be laid back, having drinks, having guests.
It's going to be a blast.
Maybe we can even get more in-studio guests on day one because they don't. I don't even know if the Broncos are going to host the thing at this facility.
And it's going to be that's a good point. It's also going to be so difficult for the Broncos to trade from the second round back into the first since they're so far back in the second.
They're essentially a third-round pick.
Yep, they essentially have 3 third-round picks.
Yeah.
Jose in the comment section says, Trey McBride. Man, I'd love that. I don't think he's lasting till the end of the second.
I don't either. I mean, you could probably move up to the middle of the second. Though.
Sure, potentially. Man, that'd be fun.
Pastorette, hey guys, do you guys have any ownership update as far as the timeline? Last I heard was that it would move forward after the coaching search. When would you guess we see a sale come through? There was some news on this weekend, Zach.
There was. The right of first refusal, which was shut down in court a couple of weeks ago, has now been appealed by the Kaiser family. So that's now just going through its own process again. Since it was already turned down once, I imagine it's going to happen again. But of course, if I'm the Kaiser family, I'm absolutely having an appeal because billions of dollars are on the line, but that's not going to slow down the Broncos process. They're sticking with their timeline. It doesn't change anything, and we're still looking at middle of summer, end of summer for this thing to be resolved.
Yeah, they said you think that Kaiser is temporary, but Kaiser is permanente.
But that was good. And that draws a lot of boos from around the office. I thought it was good.
From Alaska, Preston, my boys, this may be a question for Mace, but here we go. With the finalization of the trade to bring Matt Ryan to the Colts and the potential for Baker to wind up in Atlanta, could this be considered the most active offseason of all time? Is there any sort of metric that could support this? I can't remember a year where so much change has happened between seasons. Well, here's the metric. It's called My Feeling, and yes, My Feeling says this is the most active offseason ever.
Yeah, and it definitely is. Just look at the quarterback movement, and that would tell you.
I cannot believe that we've evolved to more quarterback movement.
Right.
I thought over time we would evolve to even less quarterback movement because the value only skyrockets, but I think the reason is teams realize you have to have a top 5 guy essentially. So number 12 suddenly becomes expendable, whereas in the past you were just like, oh, we have a top 15 quarterback, we got to hang on to this guy and try and build around him.
Yeah, teams are being stupid. The Seattle Seahawks are stupid.
Yes, they are.
Very stupid. Now, a team like the Falcons, Matt Ryan's done nothing for them the past couple of years in terms of being able to carry them on his back. And if they go full rebuild to go get C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young next year, then this move makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the Browns were willing to put their entire organizational reputation on the line to upgrade their quarterback position from a guy that they spent a number 1 pick on.
Number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
Who's shown flashes, too.
The whole thing is yikes.
Yep. He goes on and says, also, any chance you guys expand to Kansas City, KNSC, potentially? Would love for y'all to give Nick Wright some competition. Maybe it'd force him to evolve from his brain-dead takes. God bless, and let's go DNVR the Bar. Pleasure Horse, this wonderful community, and, of course, the great Iceman.
Hope you're out there, Iceman. It definitely wouldn't be KNSC. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I was going to say, anytime someone brings up a city and throws out some projected letters to use, Ryan's always like, no, it wouldn't be that. But then he won't tell anyone what it's going to be.
I certainly won't. I don't think we'd be competing with Nick Wright in Kansas City, though.
No, I don't think so. I don't see him being part of the family.
No, but he also doesn't, cover the Chiefs.
No, he does. He just has terrible takes.
He just sits on a screen and says dumb shit.
Very stupid things.
Last one here from UGA Bronco. Hey, y'all, a couple of things. One, I might be a little biased, but I think that James Cook out of Georgia would be a good draft replacement for Melvin Gordon that you can get in the 4th or 5th round. Second, it's always terrible to see a player be injured. I want to start off with that. But what happened with Ojabo, is there any chance that he could fall to us? I could see him as a great piece of our pass rush once he is healthy. Thank y'all for the great content.
Yeah, terrible. I hate seeing that towards his
Achilles.
Achilles. Yeah, what a brutal injury to have during his pro day. And I don't know what this does for his value. I certainly don't think it makes him a first-round pick anymore. I don't know if it makes him a late second-round pick, if it drops into the 6th. If he takes this year off, does not go into the draft, and just I don't know if he's a senior either, or what happens, but just feels so bad for him.
Someone is going to get a steal.
Yep.
Is what I think. And I guess I'll go silver lining for David Ojabo. Usually Achilles injuries, maybe this isn't the silver lining. I guess you could look at it a couple different ways. Usually Achilles injuries happen almost as like a wear and tear thing. It's not as much of a freak accident as like a matter of time thing.
Right.
So of course you would have loved for him. He probably, if he just makes it past his pro day, might never have it happen until after the draft.
Yeah.
But now he can start the recovery process now. Suddenly people are coming back from this at a crazy rate. It used to be, a full year for sure, and then you never know how you come back from it after that. All of a sudden people are coming back like 8 months, sometimes even less, in full recoveries.
The Cam Akers with the Rams, he tore his Achilles in training camp or the preseason, and he told the Rams, I'll be back for the playoff push, and they all kind of laughed, and as they probably should have, because it's typically a terrible injury to come back from, and sure enough, he was there running the team to the championship.
And I think he went for like 50 yards on his first carry back.
Yep.
Crazy
So
stuff.
really hope that's what happens with Ojabo.
Yeah, and again, I'm always weary of the injury roll of the dice, kind of red shirt
Jake Butts
style.
of the world.
Yes, but this is one, and especially it's not the knee. It's actually better to have it be the Achilles than the knee, where it's like, okay, if he's sitting there at the end of the second round and the Broncos have a chance to take him, I think that's one that you'd be willing to roll the dice on.
Yeah, I agree. And Ryan, we had a member come in with a really cool thing. Reached out to us last week. Our member, Tommy Bronco, or Tokyo Bronco, I'm sorry, who lives in Tokyo. He has a band with his buddy. His buddy lives here in California, and his buddies has a studio in Boulder. So they started a band where they practice over Zoom, and then they get together when they're both in Colorado, record these, and they made a song. Their group name is the Maybe Seals, and they just dropped a song, Erasmus, that we're going to play on our way out.
All right, only on the podcast side, though,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So if you want to hear the song, you're not going to hear it on YouTube. You're going to have to go to the podcast and listen to it there. But shout out to Tokyo Bronco. Always appreciate when people send us in their music. We love, helping you guys get publicity. So check it out, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow on the DNVR Broncos podcast.